YCS Pasadena has come and gone, and requested by many of you. We're going to do an interesting metagame discussion for this. And of course, later today I have a ban list part 1 video going up. It's going to be what actually should happen in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Brought to you by yours truly on probably what's going to look like the best ban list. We sat down, went through literally everything that we could think of for this list, and yikes, oh yikes, it's very interesting. So, we'll get that up later today. Alright, let's dig on into YCS Pasadena, shall we? Alright, YCS Pasadena. Whew, very interesting numbers here. First off, Hunter Lloyd made top 32. He went EXO and Swiss playing Altergeist. I was listening to some of his deck profiles, some of his reasonings for his card choices were really good. And he brought up some really interesting points about trying to get your opponent to play the game at your pace. And it's very important to understand, especially when you're being an Altergeist player, that your deck does need to interact with your opponent to some degree. But he brought up a really good point in saying, like, the first thing you typically negate will probably end the game for you in a loss. So when you're looking at Altergeist, very, very good mentality to understand. You need to be able to adjust and play things at your pace and force your opponent to do so as well, because if you don't do that, then you're going to have an incredibly bad time. So, top 32 up here. Really, really interesting numbers, actually. 8, Sky Striker. Did anybody really see this one coming? Highest representation of Sky Striker that I've seen in a hot minute. I mean, not really, but still, like, Sky Striker still has that dominance that it's had this whole format. Still the most represented deck, it seems. No real stressor here, but I mean, you gotta be living under a rock if you don't think that Sky Striker's probably still one of the best decks. Now, the new one here really piqued my interest was Danger Dark Warrior. Now, when they say Danger Dark Warrior, you're probably just looking at a deck that's kind of taking advantage of the Dark Engine, along with the Danger Monsters, because, let's be real here, the Soul Day literally goes in everything at this point. Now, these aren't the FTKs, which is what I found really interesting. Like, FTK's dominance for this, like, event, completely down, but in place of it, we have Danger Dark Warrior, a new turbo ability option, kind of showing itself up at the dinner table. Now, we also had 6 Goki in top 32, 3 of which were pure dark variants. Is it because Danger Dark is just a little bit more consistent? I mean, I'm pretty sure all of these decks still have the same objective. Gumblar your opponent for 4 cards. It doesn't really, nobody really gives a shit how you get to the answer, or the journey to get to the answer. Usually, most college press will tell you, like, it's all about the journey and how you get to the answer. We don't care about the answer now. This is the exact opposite. This is pure high school, where it's just like, you just gotta get the answer. It doesn't matter how you get there. So, Gumblaring for 4, ladies and gentlemen. Goki at its best in this current format. I mean, outside of that, like, the other decks, on a side note here, I actually heard some really funny things about Crusadia. Now, there were no Crusadian top cut, but I heard all it takes is 2 Crusadia monsters and a cherries, and you can break the Goki board, or you can stop the FTK. I don't know how accurate that actually is in terms of things, but you know what? I saw it on a meme on the internet, so it must be true. But Ghost Reaper plus 2 Crusadia targets. Like, you're good. Now, 2 Cyber Dragon decks topped. And is this Cyber Dragon's first actual, like, YCS top? I believe, like, they're there in some sort of numbers, usually, right? Like, but Cyber Dragons are really good at breaking. And I started kind of discounting them a little bit more as, like, the formats were developing, because it was like, well, Cyber Dragons were just seeing a little bit less play, and there were more Crusadia players just kind of showing up at more events. It's kind of weird, but Cyber Dragons must have been playing against everything that they needed to break these extra deck boards. And I will say, I still do underestimate the full power of Cyber Dragons, but being able to chomp off of extra deck monster zones, being able to produce these Cyber Dragon Chimera Tech monsters, and then just OTK your opponent going second, yeah, I mean, the deck does what the deck needs to do. It's pretty self-explanatory. Only 2 Thunder Dragons in top cut, by the way. Whew. What happened here? Thunder Dragons have... I originally mentioned that like Cyber Dragon representation was slightly lower at X point. It was kind of the same thing as like Sky Striker. Sky Striker's kind of seen less play because people wanted to try out the other decks. Now Thunder Dragons are having low representation. Big think emoji. So just another interesting thing to take away from this event, though. Cyber Dragons kind of taking the back seat in the metagame. Doesn't really shock me all that much. I don't know. People just think that they can like do different things and try to diversify the meta. And then of course, Trickstar, Sky Striker. This one doesn't surprise me, and even like one pure Trickstar. The deck has triple reincarnation. Let's be real here. Like, the fact that one person throughout the entire day can just cheesebird the opponent, like, doesn't matter how many Trickstar players are in the room, it takes one. Droll Knockbird, reincarnation, to ruin somebody's day. Like, and by one I mean, that's one more than ever should happen, but the deck's representation is so much lower now, and these things, at least the deck is still topping. It diversifies the metagame. Like, that's what we want to see. Now, only one Danger Dark World, which I assume is probably the FTK. Call it what it is. Azathoth is something. I think the deck, like, people are figuring out what to do against it. Or maybe more people just were like, oh, it's a 11-round event, 12-round event. I'm not looking to roll dice today. Like, I don't necessarily agree with the mentality of going into an event with just, oh, I'm going to roll dice today to win. No, that's a very bad way of going about things. I do not believe that that should be the way that you should play an event. Better luck gambling, honestly. One Altergeist, which was literally Hunter Lloyd. I found that one really interesting. I don't know, being the lone Altergeist and losing in Top Cut, your best matchup is Thunder Dragons. Like, let's call it what it is. Like, if you do not run into nothing but Thunder Dragons, what do you do? Obviously, I do recommend on Asian Persuasion's channel that you guys do watch Hunter's deck profile. I think he was pretty insightful in the things that he had to say, and I think overall, like, it's something that a lot of people could learn from. And then, of course, we had one Pendulum Magician. Deck's still there. Now, I brought up the point in previous videos about Mech kind of showing their age. Same thing with kind of True Draco starting to show their age. No, none of them in Top Cut, but that means that they're not dead, but representation and things like that, they're just better decks at the moment to play. I mean, obviously they'll top at regionals, and same thing with Paleozoic. Like, they'll show their ugly head every once in a while, but outside of that, I mean, they're not gonna be here for a good chunk of things. Now, getting into top 16 here, we had 6 True Draco, 4 Goki, 2 Danger Dark World, 2 Dark Warrior, 1 Cyber Dragon, 1 Thunder Dragon, and the FTK. Oh no. Like, that's a lot of FTK. No, one more than it ever needed to be. And then we got into top 8. Top 8 was 4 Sky Strikers, 3 Goki, 1 Cyber Dragon. Good job, Cyber Dragon. You made it a lot further than I thought. And then, of course, we kind of got into top 4 of just 2 Sky Striker, 2 Goki. And then, of course, Sky Striker versus Goki in the finals, with Sky Striker winning the event. One of the cool things I saw from this event, though, Jeff Jones made top 4. Jeff is probably one of the most consistent players that we have in this game. It was very cool getting the chance to see him. I'm very curious to see what his Sky Striker list was, because he was the other Sky Striker player to make it into top 4. Jeff is pretty good at deck building and innovating things in this game. And I think that the knowledge that he'll probably provide from that deck profile will probably revolutionize some of the already existing concepts in the community. Overall, Pasadena's numbers are about what to be expected. Danger Dark World definitely needs to be checked on the next list. Europe made that very apparent at their last event with how many of them just purely existed. Goki with Gumblar still remains a problem. Firewall is still very much a problem. But now the problem and the spotlight returns back to Sky Striker and Goki in what appears to be pretty much the same format that we've been in. Ladies and gentlemen, Yu-Gi-Oh! For the current point in time. So guys, YCS Pasadena, what are your thoughts? Please leave a comment down below. Of course, subscribe for more new content. I believe we do 2 to 3 videos a day. I don't think we ever do more than that. Maybe more. But what do you guys think? Alright guys, peace out. The ride never, well, truly ends. Thank you, patrons. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd be wearing in these videos. I might be a truffle shuffle incident all over again. Guys, please also check out VanCole40 for some awesome Vanguard content. Some other interesting stuff you might find up here on the left or in the description as well. Thanks for watching.